Hi, everyone. I'm Meg Hugh, the host of the What Doesn't Kill Me podcast. This podcast is designed for people with chronic pain, chronic illness, and for those that love and support us. This is meant to be a safe space where we can share our stories, our wisdom, and our woes to offer support and advice so others can thrive in a world that's not designed for us. After living 45 years with rheumatoid arthritis, having had 44 plus surgeries to replace body parts that don't work and to help with the pain, I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about what it's like to live with chronic pain. I find that chronic pain can be a very lonely and alienating place to live. I've realized the importance of connecting with other people who are in chronic pain. It doesn't have to be the same type of pain you have, and it doesn't have to be the same type of illness, but it has to be someone that can understand, that knows what you're going through, can empathize, can connect with you. I've learned that connection is the key and emotional support is really important. Through understanding and empathy and connections comes validation and comes acceptance. And that's what we all want, every one of us, especially those in chronic pain who are not having that right now. Our guest for today's episode is Frank Nolan, who's going to share with us his story, his roller coaster ride that started back in 2017 with his diagnosis of psoriatic arthritis and gout. His story touches on his diagnosis process, the medications that he tried that didn't work, and also the medications he had to try because of insurance reasons. He discusses his frustrations and his acceptance as he faces his new normal, and the great fear he has and uncertainty that each day brings because he doesn't know what it's going to be like that day living with his chronic pain. He faces also a dichotomy of looking healthy yet feeling like hell. He talks about the impact his pain has had on his family, his job, and his self-worth as a man. So stay, learn, and empathize, and connect with us. Let's give a warm welcome to Frank. Frank, welcome to What Doesn't Kill Me, new podcast. I just want to start off by thanking you very much for doing this. If you could just tell us what your chronic illness is and describe it to us.
Of course, they believe it's psoriatic arthritis, gouty arthritis, yes. So this is the problem I've had from day one is it was misdiagnosed a lot of times, being that they mimic each other so much.
Oh, wow.
Rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, gout. So it's been trial and error, 7 different doctors since 2017. And I mean, I've been everywhere. And the first diagnosis was gout originally, but I think it was mistreated. I was never given the right medication. And then COVID happened. That whole thing where nobody can leave the house, the doctor. So
Right.
I wasn't able to keep up with that treatment. Then I found another doctor and started treatment up again after. And that's when it just progressed and got worse and worse. It seems that every summer it seems to get better. But as soon as the end of August hits September, I start feeling it all coming back. And
Oh,
it's
my
usually
God.
running me from October till I would say May. Yeah, and I never know. I could wake up in the morning, have an attack, go to bed perfectly healthy, happy, no issues at all, and wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and I have an attack in some joint on my body. I can't plan anything. I constantly have to miss family functions, work, my kids' sporting events, especially if it's in my ankle or my knee or one of those joints in the bottom half of my body. Then you can't walk. I can't even put pressure on it. I can't even get out of bed to walk to the bathroom.
Oh,
The
my
pain is
God.
excruciating. I can't explain it enough to the amount of pain that you go through.
Describe the pain because I know they always ask you when you go to a doctor on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain, which does nothing to help someone understand what your pain is. So if you could give it like characteristics of, is it burning? Is it stabbing? Something that people can relate to.
I would have to say it's one of the worst pains that I've ever felt in my life. And I've had spinal surgery, all kinds of injuries. To me, it feels like somebody has a drill bit that's superheated and it's going in and out of my joint consistently. It brings tears to my eyes. I've cried in front of my kids, my wife, and I'm not one to do that. And I just can't help
Yeah.
it. It just gets to a point where you can't hold it back anymore. That's it. It definitely feels like little pieces of glass
under the skin. It started out completely like a normal day, and you had a lump that developed, and then
very small,
very
right
small.
behind this knuckle, right about there on the top of this very small little bump. It wasn't red, it wasn't hot, it wasn't swollen. It was almost like I got a little pebble that went under my skin right there. That
Wow.
was, and it didn't even cause me any pain until the next day. And that's when it started swelling up. And then it went from 0 to 10 in 3 hours. Red, hot, swollen, my whole hand covered all the way to here. Now, I have an army of medications.
What happens, like what helps when you're in that situation, when you see that and you feel that pain? Is there something that you can pull out, some kind of
Well,
medicine?
luckily, this was another thing that bothered me a lot was I've put my trust in all my doctors for
Of
years.
course. Yeah.
And I really have put my trust in them. And I feel as if maybe they try, maybe they don't. Um, but recently I have done so much homework on my own because I've gotten to a point where I'm like ready to just quit. It just doesn't stop. So I just started doing a lot of homework on my own, and I found a medication called colchicine that was online that said that it was given if you have gout. Like it's known to be given. It's an old
Yeah.
medication, goes back a long time. Well, I asked my rheumatologist to prescribe this to me, and he finally did. And when I started my next attack, I took a pill as prescribed. As soon as you feel a tingle or any kind of sign it's coming, you're supposed to take one of these pills. And as soon as I took it, the attack stopped. Now, that's the first time that I've had an attack coming that stopped immediately upon a pill. I have that. I am taking that, but you have to take that medication as soon as you feel the attack coming. You can't wait for it to already be in progress, but it's going to take a lot longer for the medication to work.
Right.
The problem is at night when you're sleeping. I was prescribed that. I have that on hand. However, I was put on allopurinol for the gout,
Okay.
which was working well, but my body rejected that. So I swelled up from the middle of my thighs down to my feet, swelling, edema, you name it. And I had to stop taking the medication. And now the attacks are coming back again. My rheumatologist has me on Rinvoq now. So I've been on Rinvoq now since August. It seems as if it's trial and error consistently, constantly. Just try this drug, and you keep doing it and you keep listening.
Yeah.
What they're telling you, but the pain's still coming. The attacks are still coming. It hasn't stopped. It's progressing, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Do you find that the Rinvoq is helping, like is making it somewhat better?
Well, they said 6 months, 6 months before you'll actually start to feel a big difference. At first, I wasn't feeling much, but I do have, since I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis,
Yeah.
the doctor said you could have like slight dandruff, like the littlest bit of dandruff. And he said that that could be psoriasis. And when you hit your 30s as a man, that's when it could turn into psoriatic arthritis. So that's where they seem to think that I have that because
Oh.
it's attacking all my joints and it's more my tendons attached to my bones. With the Rinvoq, I feel like it has helped with my skin, but not the attacks.
And from what I'm hearing you say, it seems like you feel like it's progressing.
Well,
Which
this is the first time in the last since 7 years that I've had an attack in one of my knuckles. It started in my big toe on my right foot 7 years ago. I'd gotten the attack probably 5, 6 times in the same toe, just different times. Went over to the other foot's big toe. And it went from that to my ankles, then
Just
to my knee, then to my back, my neck, my shoulder, my elbow, my wrist. But this is the first time it's been in a knuckle.
so it seems like it's just randomly picking different
Yeah.
areas. Are there any alternative therapies now that you're researching it yourself, which I think is fantastic because I think all of us have to be our own advocates. And you do get to the point where you can get as much advice from your doctor or from other people who have known somebody that has the same illness. And no matter what, you have to take ownership over it, which sounds like you've done that. Or is there anything that's giving you some hope?
Well, just recently, I was reading, just going through people's forums and things. It says try going to bed at 9:30 at night, turn everything off, go to bed at 9:30 at night. Don't get out of bed the next morning until at least 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. It says try
Wow.
doing that for 30 days and just to de-stress yourself. Stress does so many things that we all know that to your
Oh, yeah.
body.
Yep.
And Apparently, the change in the chemicals of your body, the reactions that you're having, that could be causing so much inflammation you don't even realize that, which then can cause other things.
Yeah.
So I guess from what it's saying is always go back to the basics, like step one.
Yep.
And I think that I've just gotten so tied up in doctors and medications and this and that. I think I just forgot about the basics.
I think you're hitting on a really good point there because I am in a similar boat that I have found through the years. I never really gave stress enough respect.
All of us, everybody that's alive, that's working, that's taking care of their families, you can't just stop. But when you're going through this, I think that you have to take care of you. You can't help anybody else if you're not good, and I'm always worried about, oh, I can't go to my kids' games. They're going to be upset with me. I can't go and help my wife at work. She's going to be upset
And
with
that
me.
stresses you out. Like that just
Yes,
adds
yes,
and makes
everything.
it worse.
Yes. So it's
And
always stress, 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 on top of the fact that you're constantly having these issues with your body and you don't know why, which is
yep.
also stressing you out. And then that's keeping you up at night. And then,
It's a cycle. It's a complete
yeah,
cycle
it's
and it's
just,
over and over and over. I have found with my arthritis is there's a lot of shame around it for me. First of all, of how I'm dealing with it, what I'm not doing to help myself, that I'm not asking for help when I should ask for help. So there's a lot of shame that gets attached. Do you find that at all?
yes, Meg, actually, I do, especially because of the fact that I feel as if being a man, that I should be doing more for my family. And
Yeah.
when you can't do it,
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to so badly and you just can't, you physically can't, and you can't explain. People that aren't going through this or don't have it don't understand that you are trying.
Yes.
For me, it literally pulls every ounce of energy out of me every day of my life. Get up out of bed is so hard some days, and it's not even just to get out of bed, I don't have the energy. Like,
You're so fatigued. Is that
yes,
what you're saying?
so
It's the
fatigued.
fatigue.
Sometimes I can get up, I feel great. I'll get up, I'm ready to go. 2 hours later, I'm tired. It just feels like I didn't sleep at all. I'm just exhausted. And those are the days that I'm good. So I don't have pain, but then that happens.
Yes. It's
So
you're living with two things that are so destructive and just affect your entire world.
yeah, exactly. And it just makes you feel less of a person, less of an adult, less of a man, less of a husband, less of a
Yeah.
father. It's belittling and embarrassing to go shopping and to get out of the car when I get home and not bring in the bags
Yeah.
because I have a wife and two daughters. So my wife and two daughters are carrying the bags, or we go out to, a store and they're carrying the bags around, or we're doing stuff around the house and they're the ones picking up the stuff and I'm
Yeah.
not. And other people see that and they don't know because I look normal. That's the thing is so many people look at me and they say, he's fine. And that's
Yeah.
another thing with this problem, this disease that we have is everybody looks at you as if you're lying or you're making
Yes.
it up or you're
Yeah.
lazy. This is a big one. And I know, and you know it, even when people don't say it. And I know it. I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, wow, I look fine.
It's so interesting because for years I was reprimanded or even yelled at if I used my handicap placard and parked in a handicap spot because I'm not in a wheelchair and I don't look sickly. But the thing is, at least I can raise my hands and somebody sees, oh, she is sick. You don't have that. And that makes it a lot more difficult.
Oh, it
So
makes
much
it
more difficult.
horrible. And
Yeah.
it's a shame that you have to have an ailment, a visual ailment,
Yes.
in order for somebody to understand it.
To respect that you're going through something, to believe that you're going through something.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I can walk around with x-rays of my body all day,
Yeah,
like,
I
hey, look at
know.
my insides,
Yes.
And I also have the feeling of, and I wake up every day and I feel this way, all this stinks, another attack, I'm going through this, but I'm always thinking it could always be worse. So many people with so much worse going on. So it's like, do you want to complain about it?
And honestly, people can only give a shit for so long.
Yes,
I,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
they have a small window of ability to actually listen and care, and
yeah.
it's human nature. They could be the best person in the world. I get sick of my story. I know that people that love you, want to support, want to care for you. Do you have any advice for somebody who's, and not just your family, but a friend even, or somebody that just knows you or loves you and wants to support you, but doesn't know how, so they don't say anything?
I think belief and trust is a big thing. Since I started this, and to be 100% honest with you, I had a lot of that with my wife. I don't look like I'm hurting. And we have a cleaning business. Why don't you believe me? But looking at it from the outside and her perspective, I looked fine. To me,
Yeah.
it's more like I was just being lazy and wanted time off. I wasn't really looking at it from the outside. I was just in pain. And I understand that now. And but
Yeah.
that to me is like the hardest thing about this, to have other people believe you. So that you're not just trying to get over on them. I'm not just trying to get you to carry the stuff because I'm lazy. I wish I could.
Mhm.
That's what hurts me a lot every day.
Having to defend how you're
Yes.
feeling. And you wish, like you said, you could have a sign or a scale like attached to you that
Yeah.
would show pain level up to here.
It automatically just shows you every day what I'm feeling so that you know, and I don't even have to say anything.
I always call a chronic illness, it's like a thief that steals parts of your abilities. It steals parts of your personality. It steals so much of who you used to be.
So, right.
It just, you become a different person over time.
You have to accept that.
And that's the hardest part. And I think for me, Frank, it was always making a decision. Was I going to let this become me, and my arthritis was going to be everything that people see when they look at me, or was I somehow going to figure out how to let it be a part of me? Because you can't deny it. It's always
No.
going to be there. But how to maintain some kind of normalcy and some kind of life that I can be proud of and that I can feel loved and not so alone.
Well, for me, it's been 7 years. And so I'm learning, and it's still hard. I have no idea. There's days where I can't, I don't know what tomorrow, what I'm going to do next week. I don't know how
Yeah.
I'm going to do it next week, but I know it gets worse every year, and it's gotten a lot worse from 7 years ago to now. And it hasn't been one year where the summer's over and that winter has gotten better. Every year it's getting a little percentage worse. And I have to be like, okay, this is what it is. I
This is
mean,
your new life. This is your
yeah,
new existence. And
yeah,
that's really hard.
that's really hard. So I'm trying to come to terms with that. I'm trying to be optimistic, but at the same time, like you said, there's no cure.
There's no cure. Yeah. And I also think the optimism that also comes in circles and waves. 1 hour, I can be extremely optimistic and upbeat and feeling like life is good. And then you I turn a corner and my God, my ankle starts to kill or my knee. And suddenly I'm right back into the bottom. And I feel like, oh my God, it's only going to get worse. It's going to get worse. This is only, and I catastrophize it. And I keep doing that. How do you not assume that that's
Exactly.
the way it's going to be?
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm on this medication, for instance, and it was working. I felt like it was working so well. I went back to the doctors. My SED rate had dropped from 135 down to 20. Yeah, so I was like, wow, this is so good. Everything's working. I was feeling I had energy back. My skin was looking better. I had that glow again. And a month later, everything went back downhill. Is it the weather? Is it the
Yeah.
time of year? Is it something to do with
Stress.
the gravitational pull? I don't
Yes.
have any idea. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And don't you,
But,
I find, Frank, I get exhausted trying to figure it out. Except that
but
would
you feel
hurt.
like you're just going in circles. You're doing it right. You're doing it right. You're doing it right. And then all of a sudden, none of that was right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is, this is something I wanted to say to you. Every time I see a doctor or a new doctor, especially, it's, oh, you need to lose weight. Stop handing me Prednisone then for 6 months. Prednisone for a month or two, all that weight comes. So that's another vicious cycle that you're going up. And
Yeah.
I can't exercise because I
Yeah.
keep having attacks.
Yeah.
And then I have to take Prednisone, which is adding weight on me. So I'm losing weight and I'm getting better. And then boom, it comes back on again. So it's like, what do you do with that?
When they tell you you got to lose weight, do they tell you how to go about that if you're on prednisone? Like
Actually, I was actually just told the last time to cut every single carb out and sugar completely out of my diet.
that is
I
like,
said, you know what? And I even asked him, I said, so what? You want me to go on keto? Yeah, you could do that. So, okay, fine. But my problem is being that I have gout. So I can't have the red meat and the high fats because
right.
it will give me the complete opposite reaction. So now that's where it's really hitting bad with me. And I still don't think they're sure what it is.
Do you feel like there is a possibility that they have misdiagnosed you?
Yes.
I guess that's something that's really frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been, like I said, initially it started with the methotrexate
Yeah.
so that the insurance
Yeah.
would cover the Humira. I had to go through all that just to find out that that didn't work, to be
Yep.
switched to another medication. But then when you get switched to another medication, now it's start from the beginning.
And it can take months.
Is the problem. You have work, you have a job, you have careers, you have things to take care of. who can just keep starting over?
Cost. Talk to me about cost of what this has cost your family monetarily, like everything from things you have to do now that you wouldn't have to do if you were perfectly healthy and didn't have this illness.
Well, okay, doctor's appointments all the time, medications, all different kind of medications that's coming out of pocket. Not all. I mean, we have insurance, but you're
Right.
still paying constantly. And then the stuff that's not medication. So just all the back braces, braces for my ankles, braces for my
Yeah.
wrist. You're constantly buying them all the time. Ointments, all kinds of
Oh,
pain creams, and this and that to put
yeah.
on. Oh, diet foods constantly.
Being healthy is not cheap.
No,
It
not at
is
all.
not
Not at
cheap.
all. So you're
No.
constantly trying to do that. But then when
Yeah.
you have a family, now I have to have a different meal from the rest of oh, taking off of work constantly because of doctor's appointments or because you're hurt. It's just always, it's a lot.
I mean, you cannot be poor in this country and have an
Oh,
illness. The two do not go together well because there's all kinds of things that people tell you, massage and acupuncture and all these wonderful things, but they all cost money. And a lot of them are not covered by our insurance.
I'm going for Chinese medicine
Oh, good. Okay.
doctor that specializes strictly in that, but that's not covered.
It's not cheap. Yep.
No. So, I mean, but I'm at the point where try. There's not just like a one cure all. Everybody that's going through this has different things that help them. So the more people that you talk to and associate
Yes.
with, the more of a chance you have of finding something that's going to help. You need to network.
Yes.
You have to network because
Yeah.
if you don't, you can't just sit by yourself and try to get through it yourself.
Right.
Because
I find there's such a feeling of separateness and aloneness when you're going through this. Because at the end of the night, when I'm crying in bed because I'm in so much pain and everybody else is sleeping, there's nothing more sad and alone feeling than that. And if you don't have support that you can reach out to, and like you said, other people that you can ask, I don't know how people do it. And that's one of the goals of this podcast is that at least people hearing your story, even if they never speak to you, will know, wow, that guy Frank is going through something similar to me.
Yeah.
And he's feeling the exact same way I do. There is nothing better in the world than when you know somebody else understands the pain and somebody gets it.
yes. And the first time I met you, the first time I talked to you, you were the first person that I came across that had something similar to what I was going
Wow.
through. So when I first spoke to you, that was the first. I remember when I went home to Julie, I said, "Oh my God, I am so happy that I just met her."
Oh, that makes me feel so
That's
good. Yeah.
because it was just I have somebody else that has something in common that
Yeah.
understands.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not just that they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I could do something." No, you understand exactly what I'm going through.
Yeah.
So it just is like a different relationship, a different aspect of it being able to have somebody that understands that.
It's such a genuineness. It's such it's an empathy that can't be learned. It has to be lived.
And it sounds kind of weird, but it's like I have that in common with you
Yeah.
and that I don't have with anybody else. And you need to have people around you that you can
Yes.
associate with that.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know how else to put it. It's just
You have to find a person
yeah.
that you can share things with and not even fix it, but just know what you're going through. I don't know, such a good feeling. And I hate to say misery loves company, but sometimes misery does need company.
Yeah.
It sucks, but like,
No, when you're alone at night, dying in pain,
yes.
you're right.
Yeah.
Nobody, and I look at Julie, she's sleeping, and I know my kids are in their bedroom sleeping,
Yeah.
and I'm staring at the ceiling with tears rolling in my eyes. It's a horrible place to be.
It is a horrible place to be. It really, and I've been there and I know it is a horrible place to be. And I used to pray for it to go away, be taken away from me. And then I got so pissed off at God for not taking it away. I finally had to stop praying for it. I
So
just
why do we deserve this? What
yeah,
did we do? What did I
and
do?
don't get me started on the
Yeah,
freaking deserve thing. Or God only gives you what you can handle.
that's what I was
So
gonna say next.
oh my
There's a
God.
reason. There's a reason. I feel like there's a reason. I mean, I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but I have
Yeah.
to think that. I have to
Well, you
know
have
that.
to, right?
Yeah.
And I find for myself, Frank, it was like I couldn't figure out a reason and there was no why. Nobody could tell me why. or explain to me, why God had given this to me. So I ended up thinking, you know what? It's just shit happens when two people have a baby and they've got the genes, and somehow my genes got turned on this arthritis when I was 13. But I have to figure out, like you said, I have to find the reason that some reason that I can make out of this. Like I can give my life sort of a reason, like I can use
Of what you're
this
doing right now.
yeah, to help other people and to connect, people that are suffering and going through things, because this isn't going away and yours is probably not going away either. So if we can do something like that to make one other person smile or feel a
Yeah.
connection, I think it's worth what I've gone through.
And I
Yeah.
like to think that maybe I have this so that my kids won't.
Yes. Yeah. Wouldn't that be great? So that,
Why? It's all on me.
and think about too what they're witnessing, what you're having to go through. As hard as that is for you to know what they're seeing and what they're watching their very strong father go through something that is so difficult, yet you're handling it as well as you can, and you're doing the best you can. And
We're
you're
all human.
Yeah, we're all human, and they're getting to understand that, life is going to give them crap and is going to throw stuff at them, and somehow you get through it somehow.
You always have to. You're always gonna wake up the next day and just make it a good day.
And hope it's a good day, even a half a day. Be a good
Make it a
day.
good day.
Yes,
You have to
yes.
try to make it a
Yeah,
good
you have to.
day.
I know. And I also have to assume, okay, tomorrow's going to be a great day. Because if I don't, I'll go to bed like, oh God, I don't want to get
Miserable.
up tomorrow.
Miserable. Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
it's so
It,
true.
you get in your own head. And I think that's another thing too, is you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do,
Yeah.
even though it's a lot easier said than done.
And that's what makes it tough sitting at home. Like that's what makes it really, really tough. If
All
I'm
alone.
alone with my thoughts, that's not a good place to be. No,
No,
it's
but I think
scary.
that's why this is good. This is perfect because before you said you were doing this, I had looked all on the internet for anything, and
Yeah.
I don't come across anything.
Mm.
I mean, there's some stuff, but I would have liked something like this.
Yes, yeah. Seeing
And it's,
somebody also, I think, is important, because sometimes when you listen to a podcast, you'd love to be able to see the person and just you can relate to somebody and remember their face. And when you're in pain, somebody can remember you and me. And
see what it is too.
yeah,
See, like this is what
yes,
I'm going through.
yeah,
This is
yes,
actually here. It's not just
yes,
me saying that I have it.
yes,
True.
right, right.
You
I can show you. Yeah,
yeah,
that
this
is
is
true.
true.
Yes, this is true.
You
Oh
know,
God. The last question I have is, I just want you to finish the statement for me. The name of the podcast is What Doesn't Kill Me. What do you want to put after that statement?
what doesn't kill you makes you keep going. I mean, that's what makes you human. I mean, that pain is what makes you know that you're alive. Isn't that what they say?
So true. Pain. It's the great equalizer.
Well, guess what? I'm alive, Meg.
Yes,
I
I
know
feel
I'm alive.
I'm fully alive, Frank. Yeah. I couldn't be more alive.
Yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And
Every day.
remind you that you're still here. You
Yeah.
still got work to do.
And everybody's
Yeah.
the same, no different than anybody else. It's just that I have to deal with this.
And I always think too, I know there's always somebody that has it worse, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean what you're going through isn't still significant and isn't still difficult. So that's really important. Anything else, Frank, that you want to share?
I just want people to understand that a lot of the people that are going through what we're going through, just because they look okay doesn't mean they are.
That's such a good
Can't
lesson.
stress that enough. I can't.
Yeah.
So many people think that it's just you not trying hard enough, and it's not. We are trying.
We are trying in our
Yeah.
lives. We face stuff that is so daunting and so hard to overcome that the amount of trying that you do is exhausting.
Yes, that's what I mean. So
Oh,
it's a lot harder than a lot of people think.
the
It's
pain
just
is real. I
yeah.
love that you're saying that people need to trust that you are really in the amount of pain that you say you're in, and also
Yeah.
that you're not faking it. You're not being lazy.
You got to believe. You got to believe. Trust people. Don't
Yeah.
put people down, and help them. Just help
Yeah.
them. And I think it's more of like emotional support than anything, because you can't
Yeah.
help pain.
Yeah. Being there for them emotionally
Yes.
and just letting them talk about it too is important. Just feeling heard. Thanks so much, Frank, for sharing such a personal story with us. There's so much you touched on right there that was extremely important. Everything from your journey to being diagnosed, to going through different medications that didn't work, to the many doctors you've been through, and just the day-to-day frustrations you have living with this disease that is so unpredictable and so hard to plan and to make your life something that you'd really like it to be, because you don't have the ability to know what's going to happen next. Some of the key points I think you talked about were being your own advocate, how important that is to do your own research, to find out what works for other people, so maybe it would work for you as well. Another key point you mentioned was going back to the basics, things like getting enough sleep, making sure you manage your stress levels, which is a great thing for anybody to do, especially if you have a chronic illness. Those things are key. I love how you talked about how empowered you felt when you were able to do that and how you actually did get some help. And mainly what I heard you speak about was that the most important thing is emotional support, and that all relies on having trust and belief in your pain and your situation and your circumstances. For Frank, he explained that what doesn't kill him keeps him going. It keeps him moving, makes him know he's alive. I love that, Frank. Thank you so very much for sharing that with us. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts or comments about Frank's story. And if you would like to go out to our website, whatdoesn'tkillme.net, and put that information in. And then also, if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast and share your story, please put that information in to the comments around this podcast. Well, everybody, thanks so much for listening. And we'll be back again to share more great stories and more advice to create a more supporting environment for all of us that are living in chronic pain and with a chronic illness.
After I'm betting that you would, took time, shook mine, I fell flat on the floor. Hook, fine, hook, line, and sink a peaceful bloody war.